Alright guys, we've got some massive Forsaken news to break down today. From brand new teasers for Aberrant Sixer, to the controversy surrounding Mystic Slasher and the changes being made to it, some big polls about 3D clothing and more. There's a lot to go over in this one. You definitely don't want to miss it, so let's get right into it. Firstly, I want to talk about some brand new teasers we've recently gotten for Aberrant Sixer. So if you don't know, Alex is the creator behind the Aberrant skins, and Aberrant John Doe isn't the only one he's been working on. He's mentioned before that he wants to eventually give almost every killer in the game their own Aberrant version, with only a few exceptions. We've already seen some early concepts for killers like Cool Kid, 1X, and Slasher, and even though none of those are officially confirmed yet, they all looked incredibly high quality. They genuinely feel like skins that could be added straight into the game with how polished they are. Now, one of the biggest questions people had was how an Aberrant version of Sixer would even work. Sixer is already a massive character, and Aberrant skins usually make characters look even more large. So naturally, people were wondering, would Aberrant Sixer be absolutely huge, or would Alex take a different approach? Well, recently, Alex finally gave us a small teaser snippet, and it actually answered that question in a pretty interesting way. From what we saw, Aberrant Sixer seems to take on a much more classic Robloxian body, similar to his original appearance rather than being oversized. The proportions of his body look mostly normal, which already makes this version stand out compared to what people expected. But where things really get crazy is the face design. His face is covered with these red holes and multiple eyes, giving it a really unsettling look. It actually feels pretty similar to something like Dignity Noli, where the horror comes from the detail and texture. And despite all that, he's still wearing his classic guest hat, which keeps him recognizable. Now, Alex also mentioned that this concept does have the qualities needed to work as a proper Sixer skin. He just hasn't revealed everything yet. And honestly, the biggest concern right now is his size. Since this version looks more like a standard-sized Robloxian, a lot of people are worried it could end up being considered pay to win, especially compared to Sixer's usual large hitbox. Because of that, many are speculating that the final version could include something like a large aura or visual effect around him to make up for the smaller model and keep things fair. That honestly seems like the most likely solution. For now though, this is still just an early teaser and we haven't seen the full concept yet, but based on what we've seen so far, this has the potential to be one of the best Aberrant skins if it's executed properly. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Aberrant Sixer and how you think they'll handle his size. Next, I want to talk about a bit of controversy surrounding Mystic Slasher, along with some recent changes that were made to the skin, because this situation has been getting a lot of attention. So if you don't know, Mystic Slasher is a skin that's been in development for around a year now, and it was part of the Combat Initiation collab. Because of how long it was taking, people had pretty big expectations going into its release. Now recently, the skin finally dropped, but the reaction hasn't exactly been great. A lot of players were disappointed because Mystic Slasher ended up being a very simple reskin of Combat Initiation Slasher. It doesn't have custom animations, no unique visual effects, and it uses the exact same chase theme. Visually, the main changes are a purple shirt and antlers, which for many people didn't feel like enough, especially after such a long wait. What made things worse was the unlock requirement. To get the skin, you either needed to achieve 150 kills as Combat Initiation Jason or complete Doomspires in the original game, both of which take a significant amount of time and effort. When you compare that to something like Admin Noli, which requires 33 admin kills but delivers a fully custom, high-quality skin, the value just didn't feel balanced to a lot of players. On top of that, there were also unapproved versions of Mystic Slasher's chase theme floating around which sounded really good. There was also another version of the skin that looked much more detailed. Even though these weren't officially confirmed to be part of the final release, they still raised expectations. And when the actual skin didn't match that level, it added to the disappointment. Now Isaac did respond to the situation. He explained that he doesn't really understand why people expected Mystic Slasher to have fully custom everything, pointing out that not every skin is meant to be highly detailed. Forsaken has always had a mix of both simple and complex skins, and while some go above and beyond, others are intentionally more basic. He also clarified that the reason the skin took so long wasn't because of development, but because the team wanted to wait for mobile support for Combat Initiation, so more players could realistically obtain it. After waiting about a year though, they decided to include an alternate unlock method instead. Since the backlash, Isaac has already made some changes to the skin, including nerfing the achievement requirements and updating the visual effects. He also mentioned that there's a future surprise planned, which a lot of people believe could be something like a custom chase theme. So while the release didn't go as expected, it does seem like the team is trying to improve things. But yeah, Let me know what you guys think. Was the reaction justified, or were expectations just too high? Next, I want to talk about some possible changes that could be coming to 3D clothing, because this has been a pretty big discussion in the community recently. So if you don't know, Forsaken has been shifting towards a new design direction for its characters. You can especially see this with characters like Chance, Two Time, Jane Doe, and a lot of the newer skins. One of the main parts of this change is the use of layered and 3D clothing, which is meant to give characters a more modern and detailed look. Now, while this sounds good in theory, the reception hasn't been entirely positive. With the newer milestone skins, a lot of players have started pointing out that the layered clothing can sometimes look messy or out of place, especially when compared to older, cleaner designs. Some people feel like the extra folds and creases end up making the characters look overly bulky or cluttered instead of improving them. And one of the biggest issues comes down to performance. On lower graphics, these detailed 3D outfits can sometimes lose their detail entirely and just turn into lumps, which makes the skins look significantly worse. Because of that, the complaints around 3D clothing have become a lot more understandable. Now recently, the devs actually acknowledged this discussion and put out a poll in the Forsaken Discord asking players which clothing style they prefer. The options included original, sculptorless 3D, sculpted 3D, and sculptorless 2D. Interestingly, the results showed that most players leaned toward flatter styles. On Discord, a large portion of people preferred sculptorless 2D, while on Twitter, many people also leaned towards simpler styles like sculptorless 2D. Overall, it's clear that the community tends to prefer designs that are cleaner and less over-detailed. A lot of players are saying that while 3D clothing can look great when done properly, the overuse of heavy sculpting and folds can actually make skins look worse rather than better. Simpler approaches, whether that's flatter 2D or cleaner 3D, seem to strike a better balance, especially across different devices and graphic settings. At the end of the day, nothing has been confirmed yet, but it's a really good sign that the Forsaken team is actively listening to feedback and considering changes. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Do you prefer the newer 3D style or the older, cleaner look? Lastly, I want to talk about the Betrayed 1X skin and some changes you might have already noticed if you've been using it recently. So one of the biggest changes is that the voice lines have been removed, and because of that, the skin's price has dropped significantly. It now costs $450 in the shop, which is much lower than what it originally was. The reason behind this is that the voice actor decided to pull their lines from Forsaken and apparently from other games as well. From what we know, this decision doesn't seem to be directly related to Forsaken itself, but more likely tied to other situations. Either way, it's important to respect the voice actor's choice here. That being said, a lot of players are disappointed. The voice lines were a huge part of what made the skin feel unique and high quality, especially since they were also reused in places like the swap-saken version of the Poisoned. Without them, the skin does lose some of that personality it originally had. However, on the flip side, the price drop changes things quite a bit. At $450, the skin is now actually one of the best value skins in the game. So while it's definitely a downgrade in terms of features, it's also become much more accessible. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Was the trade-off worth it?